On today's episode, we're diving in to mindfulness. What is mindfulness? How can we use mindfulness in our daily lives? Well, all these questions will be answered from our special guest, Drew Dice.
Inform, connect, inspire. The Post Podcast.
Welcome to the neighborhood. Thank you. I hope you're ready. I have a bunch of fun questions for you today.
Absolutely.
Before we begin, I just wanted to ask, what got you into being into mindfulness?
Yes, it has been a lifelong pursuit. When I was about 4 years old or so, I remember I was lying on my bed and I had a sheet of paper and I was scribbling on it as if I were writing cursive. I was trying to imitate my dad who worked in an office. Little kids love their dad and trying to imitate him. So I'm scribbling on my bed and then a thought occurred to me. Now, what this thought was, I don't remember and it doesn't matter, but it came up. It lasted for about 10 seconds, and it was just a little daydream. And then it ended, and my attention went back to the page I was scribbling on. And something seemed rather odd about that, as if it weren't supposed to happen. I just remember thinking, like, what happened there? Why did my mind just interrupt me and take over what I was doing and bring me out of it? Like, it shouldn't happen that way. I should be the one who's leading my life, not my thoughts. So from that point on, I just knew instinctively that thoughts were um, something that could distract you, something that could take your attention away from things that are more important. Yeah, I tried to just figure out how to meditate when I was a little kid, just instinctively. It seemed like the natural thing that I was supposed to learn how to do.
That's
Yeah.
very interesting. I never heard a story like that. Very fascinating. So, like, before we really get deep into it, what is mindfulness, just for the viewers that don't really know what's it about?
Yes. So there's a number of ways to define it. It is a state of being, really. That's how I like to state it. Sometimes I tell the students I have nothing to teach them, no facts or ideologies to put into their head. In fact, we want to do the opposite. What we want to do is take things out of people's heads, give them less to think about, less to worry about. To paraphrase Yoda, we're trying to get you to unlearn what you have learned. It's not mindfulism, it's mindfulness. So again, there's no ideologies associated with it. It's just about remaining in the present moment. The best definition is the one given by its founder, a guy named John Kabat-Zinn, which is mindfulness is awareness, cultivated by paying attention in a sustained and particular way, on purpose and non-judgmentally, to the unfolding of experience moment to moment. But that's only the first part. It can be difficult to stay in the present moment with our busy lives and distractions everywhere. So in addition to the practice of staying present, we have the attitudinal beliefs that we try and get the students to integrate into their daily lives. And if you don't, you won't get very far in your mindfulness practice without them. They do overlap and complement each other, but to give you a brief rundown, they are having a beginner's mind, being accepting, being able to let go, having faith or trust in yourself and the process and others, faith in life, and so forth. Non-judgment is another one, non-striving, patience, and lastly, gratitude. We could probably do like a full podcast episode on each of those. And then lastly, but just as important, is the element of compassion or love. And this has to be an essential part of the practice, because love just it makes everything easier. So yeah, stay in the present moment, stay with the attitudinal beliefs, and from there you just feed the flames of your compassion and your love, and you let that warmth go in all directions as best you can.
It's interesting you say that because in my daily life, I always like struggle with that, like kind of focusing, and there's always no notification on my phone, always things happening. What would you say, like, how would you deal with those kind of urges? Like, oh, I want to go on my phone. I need to text my friend. I need to do this and this. How do you like with your busy schedule, everything is happening, everything feels more fast paced. How do you kind of just focus?
Right. So modern day distractions. Well, they're very, very common. Here's the thing, I've done some reading on productivity. Ignoring distractions just takes up mental energy and willpower. So it's recommended that you actually just remove the distractions. Rather than trying to ignore your phone, just put it in another room. And if you're constantly on the apps, you might just have to trade in your smartphone for a dumb phone and just remove them from your life. That's probably the best way. That's what I do. I just try and remove distractions. Um, Apart from that, yes, it can help you improve your concentration. Um, but yeah, those distractions will always be there. They're just a part of life, and you just accept them and just see them for what they are.
So how would you say for your mindfulness routine, like how would you be able to like you said that you have ways that you cope, but then how do you are able to focus on things that are really important to you without letting those distractions get to you?
Well, your focus or concentration, that's a muscle. Like it's like a muscle in your brain. Well, technically it's not a muscle, sorry. It's like a muscle.
Gym to work this out?
So yes. So when you're doing any sort of meditation technique, you're working out a certain part of your brain. So just like when you go into a gym, when you leave, you're bringing that new strength into your daily life. So if you have a regular practice, it's going to help with all those problems that you're having, um, particularly because you're going to be seeing it objectively. These are things that are happening to you. They are not you. I know that that sounds kind of funny, um, but we like to say, you're not angry. You're just feeling anger. You're experiencing it at the moment. So it's not like you are distracted. It's like your brain is distracted and you're just experiencing your brain being distracted. But you, your true self, you're not distracted. It's only your brain.
Interesting. So are these would you consider like some like downfalls, like hard things to get through when you're starting your mindfulness journey?
Um, yes, well, they're a problem for people at any time in their lives, regardless of whether or not they are mindfulness practitioners or not. Um, it's really the attitude that we have towards these things, um, which makes significant positive changes. It's really not events or people in life that upset us. It's not. It's our opinions of those people and those events that upset
It's
us.
a good way to look at it when it
Mhm.
comes.
You can't change the outside world. You gotta go inside and change how you react to things.
What are some profound benefits you personally experience from practicing mindfulness?
Hmm. One of the most profound things I have experienced um, was a change in my outlook on life. I think, like, you've heard the term like teenage angst. A lot of young people have a lot of anxiety about the future because of the economy or the environment or whatever it is. So when I was young, I used to focus a lot on the injustices. But as I began to practice more, it really opened up my heart and I began to understand people a lot more. And so I certainly don't walk around with that kind of angst that I used to have as a young man. I absolutely love the world now. So that's great. It's I could tell you, I've had anger in my heart and I've had love in my heart, and it is much better to have.
I think what we call is the teenage phase. You know, when
Mhm.
you're like all emo and like I hate everything. So what would you say that like that changed? Like what time of life were you in? Like were you like going to college? Were you just starting your first job? Like when did you start feeling that like positivity?
I think it started. Well, the positivity has always been there. It's really about just bringing it into the forefront. There's that Native American piece of wisdom that you may have all heard, which is, you have two wolves fighting inside of you, a good wolf and a bad wolf, and the one that wins is the one that you feed. So,
Mm. It's
um,
like a devil and angel kind of thing.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But you have to, yeah, ignore the devil and give all your attention to the angel. Um, so that process is gradual. It took probably about 10, 15 years until I started having some really deeply profound moments of joy. Um, I have wept on the floor, just crying tears of joy, just at how beautiful existence is. So, meditation and these philosophies can do that for you. Certainly not for the beginner.
Mhm.
I don't want to sell meditation or mindfulness as some kind of profound mystical thing that's going to give you these great experiences.
Mhm.
Experiences like that are for like people who have been practicing for years and put a lot into it. But for the everyday person, um, just getting a bit more silence and stillness and calmness in your everyday life, that alone is enough to justify the mindfulness practices and make a positive difference.
So kind of going into this, you gotta have that mindset where it's not gonna be a one day kind of change. It's gonna be months and years of slow burn. But I guess I can see that it's totally worth it. And like it seems like it's just like kind of like a 3 to 5 minute thing you do every day. Am I correct?
Yes. Um, well, the process is gradual, but there are times where you do move fast. Like you will have epiphanies, you will have sudden jumps where you can advance. That does happen.
Mhm.
But ultimately, if you're practicing right, you'll be patient with wherever you are in your journey. You'll be happy for that. Um,
So like with friends and family, like how do you would you say those benefits really affect when you intertwine with friends, family, events, work, school? Like it sounds like since if you have a lot going on in your life, how would you fit mindfulness into your busy schedule?
well, in terms of routine, um, it's good to meditate in the morning, but I'm not a morning person, so I certainly don't do that. But if I can take a few minutes to myself and do some deep breathing in the morning, that really is helpful. Also, in the mornings, I find when I'm walking to work, say like it's Monday morning, you're kind of groggy, you're not looking forward to work. Not
Oh,
many
it's
people are,
Mondays, right?
right? But if you're mindful, you can see that thought pop up in your head and you catch it. And you can ignore it, you can let it happen, or you can counteract it. And so what
Counteract that.
well, the thought comes up like, "Oh, I hope I'm not gonna have, a bad day." And then I'll just counteract that with a mindfulness attitude of, compassion, or any other positive emotion that you wanna add to the mix, and I will tell myself, "No, I'm gonna have a great day. No matter what happens,
Boy.
it's gonna be good." Because it's up to me. I'm the one making the decisions throughout the day. So even if someone comes in and is rude, it's still my choice whether or not
How your
I want
that
to
approach
react to
affects you,
that.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's super interesting. It's like
Sometimes when if I'm getting the morning coffee and the person tells me to have a good day, I say to myself, "Okay, I will. I'm gonna for that
so
person. I'm gonna make sure the rest of my day is great."
like you said, feed the angel, let the devil go away, right? Like if you hear positivity, let that flow within you. Negativity, laugh it off, kind of just no. I won't let that stop me. That's a really good mentality. I hope that's something that a lot more people could pick up on. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. It does uh, work wonders. It was I was really shocked when I had a meditation teacher give me this technique. It's just called dropping it. It's like if you're worrying about something, just tell yourself not to, but be like strong about it.
Mhm.
Um, just like as I was giving in that example of walking to work and that thought like, oh, I'm gonna have a bad day. I just no, just drop it. You don't have
But
to beat yourself up constantly. Um,
how about for bigger issues like you said, like, oh, what if you're having money problems, or let's just say you're not in a state of a day where you can just flow.
mhm. For bigger issues, those things are going to keep cropping up in our minds throughout the day. So what we have to do is accept them. That's one of the attitudinal beliefs. It's a big one. It can be difficult for people to wrap their heads around because when they hear the word acceptance, it means surrender.
Surrender.
It means let people treat you like garbage. But that's not what we mean. What we mean when we say acceptance, you're accepting everything. So whatever this big thing is that you're worrying about, you have to accept that it's happening. You have to accept that there are probably multiple ways to deal with it.
Yeah.
Um, you have to accept that there's a part of you that wants to overcome
Mhm.
whatever it is, and you acknowledge that as well. I like to give the analogy of a fire, right? If you're cooking in your kitchen and a fire breaks out, if you panic and you don't accept it, and we've seen people react this way, they don't know what to do and they kind of freeze up.
Mhm.
But if you accept it, it doesn't mean that you let the fire burn. It means that you've accepted the fact there's a fire burning. I'm the one who has to respond. What are my options? So accepting can help you remain calm in
So
those
it's like
situations.
you either just complain and let the fire burn more, or you could like, oh, there's a fire. What can I do in the situation you're given?
Mhm. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. That's a good way to look at it. Is like, don't let those feelings get to you, because what has happened is happened. You can't go in the past. No point of dwelling over those emotions. Oh, I wish that was more easier to do, but like I said, it would take time. But that I would definitely keep that in mind.
It takes practice because we are conditioned in our society to fight and to stand our ground and to be aggressive. And that can be great in some situations, but in other situations it can be disastrous.
Yeah, mostly in this day and age where digital and everything's like fast paced and messages and notification, like the world, I just feel like the world's full of distractions that stop me from being able to focus on the things I really care about. I feel like I'm wasting energy on things that are not necessary. What would you say to someone with that kind of issue?
Mhm. Uh, well, you can do what they've been doing for thousands of years. You can just leave society and go join a monastery. That will take care of your distractions. But otherwise, as before, you really have to just get rid of those distractions. There's really not much else you can do. You can also change your attitude towards them
Hmm.
and stop viewing them as, negative things to be avoided. And you can, plan out a schedule as to when you permit yourself to engage in those distractions.
Oh, that's a good idea. So, like example, like if I have this assignment, I have to focus and finish. Let me put my phone aside for like an hour to get that done, and maybe around the end of the day for like an hour, I give myself that time to be on my phone.
Mhm.
Is that what you're kind of saying?
Yeah, exactly. That's not really a mindfulness thing. We don't worry so much about distractions in mindfulness. We just see them and note them. Oh, there's a distraction. I can either engage with it or I can ignore it.
Hmm.
But if it keeps coming up and distracting you, it's better to just try and remove it from the equation totally.
Kind of reminds me of like how plants are. Like things come and go, but they always kind of just stay stand and stand their ground. But like they let the wind blow them, but they don't let it keep them there. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
See. Hmm.
Yeah, that reminds me of there's an old beautiful Taoist metaphor where they're looking at, a big windstorm comes in, and it's the strong trees that try and resist and hold their ground. They're the ones that snap and break under the pressure of that wind. But what's left remaining is the grass, because the grass is supple and it can go in any direction it needs to go and it will still remain.
Mhm.
So
So
kind of
it's
like Bruce Lee famously said, like, be like water.
be like
Can fit
water.
any container. Yeah.
So we briefly talked about meditating, but what would you say to someone that is trying to get into meditation, and how would you say the flow works in that sense?
Yes. So there are challenges to starting a practice. Um, you have to really want to do it, like anything else. If you're not that interested, I mean, you can try it. Who knows? You might fall in love with it. But if you really want to find a way, you'll find a way. But you do have to make it a habit. Otherwise, it won't stick.
Mhm.
So it can be good to find a YouTube channel that you like that does guided meditations. There are, you can find a meetup group where you can do it with other people. It is really good as well to keep a journal. That will keep you engaged with it. And most importantly, like exercise, if you want to stay healthy, do an exercise that you enjoy, right? If you're on the treadmill and it's boring you, then try something else.
Like volleyball or yoga.
Yeah. And there are lots of different meditation techniques. So find something that you enjoy and that you want to do. Because if you don't want to do it, you're not going to.
Like, how would you recommend someone starting off meditating? Exactly.
The most common thing people use as a meditation technique, and there are various ways to do this, it would be the breath. That's very common. Just start with observing your breath, staying with it. There is a meditation, it's called Vipassana. So it means clear-sightedness. It's from the Buddhists. We do it in our weekly classes here or NIP. People seem to really enjoy it. It's very easy. You just bring your awareness right above your navel, and you just watch your belly rise and fall as you breathe. And then what's going to happen is sensations and thoughts and emotions are going to come up. You're going to see them. You're going to let them play out, but you're not going to engage with them. You're just going to observe them as they arise, play out, and then dissipate, go back to where they came from. And then you gently return your awareness to your belly rising and falling. So it gets you used to seeing your emotions and thoughts as things that are not attached to you, and you don't have to engage with them.
Oh, interesting. But let's say someone struggles with meditating, like they always get distracted. Let's say they do get into that. What would you say that could help them?
Yes. So that reminds me of the monkey mind, which is a common problem that people have. That's a Buddhist term. It refers to the mind that is like a monkey swinging between branches. Your mind is constantly going from topic to topic, and you can't focus. So when people sit in meditation, they expect their minds to calm down and become completely silent, but it doesn't happen that way. And it's never going to happen that way because it's the nature of the mind to think and to move. It's like your heart is always beating. Your mind should always be thinking. You don't want a slow mind. So the important thing is to change your attitude towards it. Recognize that it's the nature of the mind to move. Just observe it. Again, don't engage with it. Just relax and watch it. And then over time, it even starts to seem silly. Like, oh, there's my mind going again. And you can, it's not that you ignore it. It's just, again, you don't engage with it. Just try and watch it objectively. And over time, as your body starts to relax, your mind will relax as well. And the thoughts will slow down a little bit.
You brought up like that's like a myth that people had about mindfulness, like about the like your mind goes out of places. Is there any other myths that are related to mindfulness that you wish people would like forget about, like they're not real?
Yeah, I think there are some misconceptions. Um, One common one is that you have to concentrate to clear your mind. A lot of people go into meditation thinking that they're going to be able to completely wipe their mind clear of thoughts and have it just completely still. That's not going to happen. It's about being at peace with those thoughts that are there, okay, and not letting them disturb you. There are two types of meditation. It exists on a spectrum. So most people think any meditation is a type of concentration meditation where you're, focusing on your third eye, or you're imagining something and trying to keep that picture in your mind, or staying with a mantra. And those are really good and they will help your concentration. But those aren't mindfulness meditations. Mindfulness meditations are on the other side of the spectrum, which is called open awareness meditation, where you're letting absolutely everything
They come in.
You're not trying to shut things out. You're letting them come in, and you're just remaining calm while they come in. And you're just remaining the objective, present, aware observer of those things that your, emotions and thoughts are bringing to you.
Trying to think of an analogy for that. Like, what would be like a good way to describe what's happening?
A different type of light is a common analogy. So concentration meditation is like focusing a spotlight or a searchlight. The rest of the world is completely dark. You forget about it. All your energy is on that mantra. Forget about everything else. But open awareness meditation or mindfulness meditation is more like a light bulb where the light goes in all directions. The entire world is allowed to come in.
Well, it's kind of like how, like in an amusement park, where people come in and go, a lot of things like you're screaming here, different rides are operating, but in the sense where you just have to let all that happen while just staying there in like a calm state, just letting everything play out. And like as the amusement park happens and closes, you're just the same no matter what happened. Or like, like a better analogy is a scary movie. When you watch a scary movie, jump scare, all this action packed stuff happens, but you kind of just don't let it like trigger you. That's what I would say.
Absolutely. That is a good metaphor. You can see the activity in your mind is just a movie. You don't have to take it seriously. It also reminds me of another metaphor, being the center of the hurricane. All around you, everything is just going wild. The wind is blowing everything nuts. But you there at the center, you're completely still and calm. And this is also what is meant by the saying you may have heard, I am in the world, but I am not of the world.
Oh, could you like kind of like tell me what that means exactly?
Well, I am in the world and that you can hear me and see me and reach out and touch me, but to affect my deepest true self, that the world can't touch me. Because I'm just objectively watching everything, not participating in it. I mean, you do have to participate. You gotta wash your clothes and get stuff done. But again, you're not getting swept away. You're not being pulled into that, those hurricane winds. You're still in the center, just observing.
I do like that. That's so really, you could write like a whole book of all your analogies you have ready.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I could go on for a while.
Well, I have one more question for you. What would you say, how would you want the future of mindfulness to go toward from today?
Well, we have neuroplasticity, which is changing the game because we now have quantifiable, measurable evidence to show that meditation can change the structure of a person's brain and thereby improve whatever function it is they want. You can, if you want to become more resilient or learn how to deal with people better or learn how to focus more, there are different meditations that will target those parts of the brain and help you there. So that's a really cool thing about the future, is we're going to be able to approach it from a very scientific perspective. But these things, these techniques have been around for thousands of years, and it's great that science is, giving them some validity.
Yeah, I remember like years ago, like maybe like 30, 40 years ago, that people like psychologists, they trashed on them because they think, oh, therapy is not needed. If why are you going to therapy? Like they respected like physical injuries, but mind injuries like going through stuff, understanding trauma, people just made fun of you for that. So it is interesting to see that the world's finally understanding that these things do affect people, and they're actually finding ways to make it happen. I hope that gets more implied in schools and learnings, even to adults too, like in companies that are working right now, because I feel like everyone goes through some type of need. Well, Drew, it was nice to have you today. You are a wonderful guest. Is there any last remarks you want to let the crowd know?
Well, thanks very much for having me. But no, I don't think I have any closing remarks. Just, if you're interested in mindfulness, again, find something that resonates with you and that you really enjoy. Just keep searching until you find, something that helps you. You'll find it. Have faith.
Well, thank you so much for all the nice information you gave us today. Well, that'll be all. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this episode. Everything will be linked in the description. Please support us. Please shout us out anywhere you can, and have a good one. And see you in the neighborhood.